Reform Board can and should provide the necessary guarding to preserve a good public school education. And we must give it time to grow. But the Reform Board must realize that the change must not be so drastic, so great, that the roots become uprooted and the fruit withers and dies. The School Reform Board must recognize our value and then respond to our needs. I do not like what has been implied, printed, or presented by the media concerning the education provided by degreed certified educators. I am a senior at Martin Luther King Junior Senior High School, and the teachers at King have prepared me with the education that has made it possible for me to compete in this educational arena. I have been accepted to the college of my choice. In the fall, I will attend Howard University. Howard University has offered me a full academic scholarship. I am a product of a school system that hires the best and demands the best of its employees. And those employees demand the best of their students. The media points out all the negative aspects of the Detroit public schools, but what they fail to do is magnify the positives. Prepared academically and physically to move on to the next level of education. When I first left middle school, like many others, I wanted to go to a school outside of Detroit because I was influenced by the media that implied that the Detroit public schools were synonymous with failure. I was offered a scholarship, a full ride, mind you, to Cranbrook High School in Bloomfield Hills. At first, I jumped at the opportunity. I felt that the quality of the education would be greater and I would receive more of a challenge. But my mother disagreed. She felt that I could be challenged right at King. And you know what? She was right. Thanks. You see, education is a two-way street. Teachers provide the tools, and the students must use these tools to build bridges. So I challenged myself by reading ahead in my classes and trying to obtain every ounce of knowledge possible. I attained that knowledge from a public school education. My calculus, my English, my math, my science, my computer applications, and my speech teacher are teachers and educators that actually care about you fulfilling your dream. They challenge your intellect and find creative means to help you learn each lesson. My teachers at King are extended members of my family. Teachers plant good seeds and are a part of the good fruit that the Detroit public schools bear. Don't get me wrong, the Detroit public school does have its negative side. Some bathrooms are horrible. The parking lots give people the effect of a roller coaster ride at Cedar Point. There is a need for more computers, and the class size needs to be smaller. But none of these things imply that the students are receiving an inadequate education. What organization doesn't have its dream list or room for improvement? The Reform Board is not a bad seed, and it will find its place in the orchard alongside all the other wonderful fruit that have grown from a strong, well-nourished environment. Together, we can learn from our mistakes and plant seeds of knowledge that can never be destroyed. The Detroit public schools are here to stay.
Yeah.
I think we ought to introduce
introduce William's mother and father. Absolutely. Mr. and Mrs. Murphy, would you stand? What William said to you is true. We've got some of the best schools anywhere, right here in the city of Detroit. Some of the hardest working teachers, some of the most demanding and giving administrators. They're here, right here in this city. And we turn out students just like William every day. And we ought to be proud. I skipped over some things on the program and I need to go back and get caught up here. We're going to have, before we have our next speaker, we're going to have a welcome and a few words from Ms. Deidre McGee. She's with the National Conference of Community and Justice. Ms. McGee.
Thank you and good evening. Good evening. I'm not going to take a lot of time because this program is so special and it's very hard to follow our student here from King High School, King Junior, Senior High School, who passed along some very poignant words that all of us need to commit to memory. But my purpose here this evening is to bring a message to you. And that message has to do with the unfortunate events that have occurred in our city with the crisis of the schoolgirl rapes. As a result of that crisis, Mayor Archer has asked the National Conference for Community and Justice and the Youth Connection, which is a program in Detroit of the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, to develop a programmatic strategy that would sustain an effort over a long period of time to protect our youth going to and from school. Over the last several months, our two organizations have been working very hard at this and making the proposals and the presentations to the mayor's staff. Within the next couple of weeks, we will have a stamp of approval from the mayor himself, and he will make an announcement about how this effort is to move forward. The message to you as parents, as educators, as a wonderful council of PTA that you are at the local level here in Detroit, we are asking for your help and for your support as we come to your school to ask for your assistance with our organizations to support the strategy that we will bring to you to give us the assistance that we may need and to also give us your input regarding the strategy that we'll present to you. I won't go into the strategy this evening because it's rather lengthy, but it does involve a commitment on the part of the Parent Teacher Association as well as the LSCOs and other groups and organizations at the community level as well as other businesses and corporations. So with that, I hope that when we approach you with this initiative, that you will support it. I know that in this room, we're probably talking, as they say, preaching to the choir. But we have to continue our vigilance. We need your help to mobilize the community. And I hope that when we do come to you, you will be supportive of this. And I thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Deidre. Those of you who are here at the beginning, who heard the introduction, folks, can you hear me in the back there?
Speak right into the microphone.
Okay, hold on. How's that? Any better? That's better? Okay, good. Well, we're fortunate tonight that we have the president of the Michigan PTA here with us. He's the first African American to be elected to that office. And it's my pleasure to introduce my friend to you, Ron Coleman, president of the Michigan PTA.
Thank you. And I am going to be so ever brief because I want to hear, if you will, the conclusion to the whole matter with one more student that is going to be speaking to us on this evening. My hat's off to the entire Detroit Council and to all of you that are here this evening to celebrate the 82nd Annual Founders Day Banquet. I have been to a number of these here in your fair city, and I can say tonight that I am just elated on behalf of the organization to see the enthusiasm, the commitment, the care that all of you exemplify this evening. So my hat is off to all of you tonight for being here. Just a moment of my personal privilege, if you will. I have some very special friends and they have no idea I'm going to do this. And the one thing about me and my tenure now as the president of the Michigan PTA is my unpredictability. And right now I get a lot of the accolades because I am the president. But every once in a while you have to look back at those pioneers who have stood the test of time, that have stayed with the PTA and give them their due while they can still smell the flowers. I have some very dear friends sitting right at this table. And I'm apologizing because I know I'm going to mess these names up, and I know she's going to get me. I'd like to have you just stand for a second. This young man and that young lady right there. Then somebody tell me the names. Right here in yellow. Dolores. Both Dolores is in the yellow. And Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones was one of the first people I met at a state PTA convention probably 15 years ago. And he is still here involved in PTA, along with these other two beautiful young ladies. And I think that we ought to show them love. One of the things that I think it was Dolores that said to me this one, don't you forget from whence you came. And I will never, ever forget from whence I have come. Because it is so important to me, and I know I've had people tell me, and I am elated, yes, to be the first African American to serve in this capacity. But the theme that I have chosen to work with is doing more for all children. Doesn't have color, doesn't have a socioeconomic background, it's doing more for all children. And so I have had the opportunity and blessed beyond measure to travel around this country on behalf of the objects of this organization, on behalf of all children. Just this last weekend, we are proud to say that the National PTA was here in your community. And it was my privilege to host a national committee meeting on the Urban Initiative. And I'm going to ask a few of those key players that were with us, and our youth conference director, our chair, would kill me if I didn't always make sure that I put the S in PTA, and that's students. Rose Sizzler was with us. Please stand, Rose. Sue Jones was with us. Please stand. Right side was with us. This group will be featured in the upcoming Our Children's magazine for their participation in a panel that we did. And we had others that were there with us at the luncheon. For those of you that were there with us at the luncheon, please stand. I want to make sure we recognize everybody that was there. There we go. The group that was standing the first time are going to be featured in Our Children's magazine. If you get that magazine from the PTA, be on the lookout, because your members from your own PTA council, the Detroit Council, will be featured in that magazine. We have a lot of work to do ahead of us in the Michigan PTA, and we want to make sure that we continue to do and service the needs of the Detroit PTA Council. You have more than just my commitment. I have driven, just in this last week, I'm now going on over 1,100 miles, traveling around the state the first week or so on behalf of the organization, because it is so important to me to make sure that we get the message out that Michigan PTA, the state of the organization, is fine. Our effort to continue, and I heard it said earlier tonight, to increase parent involvement. When I saw this couple as they watched their son, and I watched them taking pictures of him before, and I don't know if they took pictures of him after. He's probably breathing a little sigh of relief now. But I just marvel at seeing the parents right here in the trenches with their children. I have this motto, and that is to please don't stop being with them after the 6th grade. All of us love to see them when they go into kindergarten. Stay with them through the 6th grade. Stay with them through the high school arena. My mother and father, God bless my mother's heart, she's gone on to be with the Lord now, but she was my first PTA mom. And she stayed with all 10 of her children all the way through college. All the way through college. There are so many other things, and I am not going to belabor the time about the state of the organization because I want to hear what the students have to say to us. But be on the lookout. There should be an article, and sometimes either in the next couple of days on what we did just this weekend, and you will see pictures and articles from the people that were with us at the committee meeting this weekend here in the Detroit area. But be on the lookout for us. In April is our convention. I hope that all of you that can will be with us at the convention in Battle Creek in April during tax time. So if you have to pay Uncle Sam a whole lot in taxes, get some relief by coming to our annual convention in Battle Creek. Thank you so much. God bless you. Good to see you.
Thanks, Ron. I'd like to ask all the principals who are present if they would stand just for a moment, please. All the principals here, stand for us. Let's give them a hand. One of the big parts of the reform that's going on in our district is moving to a site-based management model. And the principals are the people who are going to be the CEOs of each and every one of our single school buildings. They're the people that are going to make this district work. Not a reform board, not the CEO that they're going to hire, but these principals, along with the teachers and the parents and the community people. We've got 182,000 kids in this district, and we need everyone in this room. This room ought to be overflowing tonight. We ought to not even be able to fit into this room. I feel like I'm preaching to the choir here because you folks are here tonight. You know how important it is to support our kids. You know how important it is to come out and say, it's a job well done, and that we're going to keep working until it is done. Without saying anything else, I'm going to introduce our next speaker. It's Aisha Benton. She's a senior at the Detroit High School for the Fine and Performing Arts. She's a member of a 4-time state championship forensics team. In the fall, she'll be attending the University of Michigan for a double major in education and political science. Without saying anything else, this is the daughter of a very long and close and dear friend of mine, Butler Benton and his beautiful wife. Stand.
Move the mic down.
All truths are easily understood once discovered. The truth, the mission, is to discover it. Good evening. I know you all can be more excited about this. It's the Parent Teacher Student Association. Yeah. So I say to you, good evening. I'm a little sorry to say that everything I say to you this evening may not be positive, but all I can tell you is that I'm going to speak honestly and speak from the heart. All right? I'm a senior at the Detroit High School for the Fine and Performing Arts. There I study speech theater, and I also study dance. Last year, as a member of the 4-time state championship forensics team, I did a speech on blacks in film, where I hold the title of being first in the state in my category. Before I talk about what needs to be improved in DPS, I would like to talk about the many positive things I've experienced throughout my 3 years in DSA. Forensics Forensics has taught me many lessons about life, about acting, just about setting goals. One of our state-winning pieces by Mickey Grant called I Can't Code states in it, you can stop a rose from growing. You can turn a stream aside. You can stop an army coming. But no man can stop the tide if they keep coming. And that's our mission in the forensics team. Throughout its 7 years, we've won our state championship 4 times. DSA doesn't have a stage. We don't have any auditorium in which we can practice things, but we keep winning because we can't be denied. And that shows that without the proper resources, we still can advance and we still can go on. Our band has been invited to Carnegie Hall for 2 years in a row. I hear many people saying at my school, you know, we win this and we win that. What more do we have to do to get a new school? I mean, do we have to burn the school down? And sometimes I think the same thing because I walk downstairs with water drips on my head. I'm in classrooms where there's talent falling down. I go to take a drink out of a water fountain and rust comes out. So I say to you today that there are things that need to be fixed. I also study dance at DSA, like I said. Michael Jordan once had a quote that he said, I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot, and I missed. I failed over and over and over again in my career, and that is why I succeed. Now, I'm not the best dancer in the world. I never have been. My teacher often tells me, you're not an African child, because I don't have rhythm. But through this experience, I learned that you have to measure success at your own rate, not by the rate of another. I know now that I may not be able to dance, you know, and get into Alvin Ailey's dance theater, but I can do the best that I can do. And that's what this experience has taught me. I'm also a part of Citywide Student Council under the direction of Mr. Kimson, who's back in the table somewhere. And through that, I've been exposed to many things in my community. I've been allowed to go on different outreaches and touch people personally. Every holiday season, we do a Toys for Tots drive where we go to a home where there are pregnant teenagers. And we give these kids toys, and just to see their face light up, just to see that we're doing something, that we're making a difference in someone's life, really touches me. So that's another experience that I've learned from DPS that has taught me things about life. Another thing is that I've been exposed to various types of people at my school. I came from Southfield. I came from a private school as well, where I was around some of the same types of people. Then I came to DPS, and I noticed that there were various types of people. There were people from different backgrounds, people from different homes, people from different economic standards and economic places in life. And I noticed that even if you don't agree with what someone says, you still can respect their opinion. And that's what that has taught me as well. But as a diligent student in the Detroit public school system, I'm in a suitable position to notice the advantages and disadvantages of DPS. I lived in Detroit for about 3 years now, and the school system has been disappointing to me. I'm not trying to completely down DPS because there's so many things that are positive in our system. But with the positive, there are so many things that need to be improved. Let's start with the fact that students have disciplinary dilemmas that often originate from the lack of parent participation at home. Next, let's move to how educators aren't allowed to really move and teach students to compete on a national level because of burdening pacing charts and slower students who have special needs and learning disabilities. Lastly, let's speak on the fact that DPS students are often not prepared for standardized tests and miss basic level skills needed to score with. I will discuss the problems of our suffering Detroit public school system. We all know that the home is the structure and the start of all aspects, attitudes on life. And if parents don't stress the importance of education, who will? I noticed in school that so many students are disrespectful to their teachers. So many students don't care. And I often think to myself, where is our civility? Why don't students respect adults? Why do people talk to adults in any kind of way? These values must be taught at home. Before a child even enters any kind of school system, they have either one or two teachers, which are their parents. Before they even step into kindergarten or first grade, their parents put the root in them that tells them it's important to learn. If they don't know that it's important to learn, they'll go to school and don't care. I witness this every day at DSA. Every day, students say, oh, I'm not going to go to this teacher's class because I don't like it. And I say to them, you're not hurting the teacher if you don't learn. You're hurting yourself. Because in the long run, on graduation day, you can't say it was the teacher's fault that I didn't learn. It was my parents' fault that I didn't learn. It was my friend who was sitting next to me. It was their fault because I didn't learn. It all begins with you. Parents need to volunteer their time in their students' lives in the schools, whether it be selling brownies or chaperoning a field trip. Students, every student, all students need to see that their parents care. Whether it be coming to parent-teacher conferences or simply just showing up or getting them to school on time. Students need to know that their parents care about their education. Whether it be verbally or physically, every parent needs to say, your education is important to me, and it ought to be important to you. If we face the facts, we will see that many Detroit public school students are not learning what they need to learn. There are students who need special help and slow down the rest of the class. For example, I'm in a school where AP class contains 40 students, many of which who have scored C's and D's the previous year. This doesn't make sense. At my school, if an AP class fits into your schedule, then you're there. There are students in my math class that don't understand 7th and 8th grade basic math, which is sad. But a teacher can't stop to teach them that. It sounds outlandish, doesn't it? Well, it happens, and it surprises even me. The pacing charts that are placed on our teachers don't help either. We should find a way to make real advanced placement classes for students who learn at a faster rate and want to be challenged. The students who need extra help need to be moved out of high-level classes and into ones that better suit them. I will never forget a vivid memory that is in my mind. As I was sitting in my counselor's office waiting on a schedule change, one of the students walked up to my counselor, Mrs. Williams, and said, I'd like to be in an AP class. She said, okay, but does it fit into your schedule? And she said, yes. And this student who had scored C's and D's, this student who was constantly disruptive, this student who was suspended from school at least once a month, was placed into an AP class. Now, if any student can get into AP courses, you may ask, how advanced are they? They're not. The answer is, they're not accelerated enough. We need to teach students on different tracks that coincide with their rate of learning. The SAT and ACT are very important factors deciding on whether a student will be admitted into the college of their choice. They measure a student's level nationally. Detroit public school system students are placed at an advantage. They are unprepared for tests, and as a result, they place low expectations for themselves. As I was entering school in the fall, all of the seniors sat in a room, and our principal came and talked to us and said, if you don't score at least a 21 on your test, you need to take it off. Sadly, many of the students in my senior class started signing and making exasperated groans. A 21, they said. I tried my hardest and I got a 16. Our students need to be challenged. They need to be told that they can succeed. There's nothing wrong with Detroit Public School students. No child can't learn. But every child needs to be challenged. Every child needs to be pushed. Every child needs to be propelled to excel. Discussing parent participation, classroom pacing, and standardized testing has provided a different approach to mending DPS. The thesis is education should be our #1 priority. People tend to forget that the people who hurt most from all of this quarreling are the intended beneficiaries, the students. For the educational goal to be reached, we all must return to our original plan. The plan, of course, is to prepare the students for college and for the larger world. So if we cut out all of the quarreling, all of the fighting, all of the arguing, all of the unfocused behavior, we can achieve this objective. After all, we the children are the future. Thank you.
Good job. You should be proud of her.
Let's have one more hand for Aisha, will you? I told you you're going to be in for a treat tonight. Now there's one thing that I want to do tonight. There are a couple folks in the audience that I want to introduce to you. One is my mother, Joanne Bowler. Would you? Mom. Stand up. That's my mom. My son, my youngest son, Charles. And my wife, who's celebrating her birthday tonight. Happy birthday. Help me sing happy birthday to her. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Gwen. Happy birthday to you. Is anyone short a pair of glasses that were left in the ladies' room? Okay, well, I've got them. If you realize you don't have them, they're up here. There's a short poem I want to take a little time to read to you. I heard this for the first time a couple weeks ago at a Board of Managers meeting, the Michigan PTA. And it really touched me. As a matter of fact, it touched all of us who were there listening. And it goes like this. You thought you were happily smiling at your child from a hard stadium seat or a hot-packed auditorium, but your child looked at your face and saw approval of him, enjoying what he was doing. You thought you were just patting him on the back or on the head, or just ruffling his hair, but your child cherished the warm, loving touch and his heart brightened. You thought you were reading a bedtime story with all the funny and scary voices, but your child enjoyed the fact that you read every word, even though you had heard them hundreds of times before. You thought you were letting your child help paint the house, even though the paint got kind of runny and drippy in places. But your child knew that you were working together as a family and felt a sense of accomplishment as a family. You thought you were singing silly songs or counting the cows on a long, boring trip, but your child learned it was fun being together, no matter where you were. You thought you were spending a few minutes of your time by throwing a ball in the backyard or baking some cookies. But your child, who realized that your time is precious, knew you were investing it in him. You thought that you asked your child's opinion about something that wasn't too important. But your child thought you asked because his opinions and thoughts were important. You thought you were a good host by inviting your child's friends in for a cool snack on a warm summer day. But your child knew that his friends were important to you and always welcome in your home. You thought the tears in your eyes went unnoticed when your child accomplished an important goal in his life. But your child knew that he was deeply embedded in your heart, and you sensed his accomplishment. You thought the refrigerator was as good a place as any for hanging all the artwork and well-done papers that come home from school. But your child felt important when he comes home from school each day with something to show you and to tack up on his personal Hall of Fame. You thought you gave your child some simple chore or job to do and told him, well done, with a smile when he did it. But your child learned responsibility and began to realize he could tackle even tougher things. You thought you were helping a troubled, restless child get some sleep by fixing a cup of cocoa. But your child thought you were opening your heart around the kitchen table and making all the problems a lot smaller. You thought the vacation wasn't such a success because the fish didn't bite, the sun didn't shine. But your children remember everything that happened and still laughs at all the funny parts. You thought you were just giving them a quick hug on that special moment, or just because. But your child carried it with him for a long time, because what you really said was, I'm proud of you, and I love you. You thought you were giving him a little kiss on the cheek to tell him goodbye as he left for school. But your child felt warm and loved because he knew that there would be another one waiting for him when he got home. Come to think of it, there are a lot of things that parents do that are really misunderstood. I kind of feel like I'm preaching to the choir here tonight because we know how important it is for us to be here. We know how important it is for us to be a part of our children's lives and part of the educational process. I've got two children, a 6-year-old you see here, a 16-year-old. They are the most important things in my life, as I'm sure all of your children are, and your grandchildren, and the children in your neighborhoods where you live. We take this night to celebrate our founders, but what we really ought to be doing is celebrating ourselves. We ought to be proud of ourselves that we're here, that we know this is where we're supposed to be, and that we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing. And I want to take this opportunity to ask you, give yourselves a hand. One last thing on our program tonight, and that's the presentation of awards.